Well, welcome everyone to a sunny day in Ballarat today. To this special presentation. My name's Mike Boyle, and I'll be taking you through this presentation on navigating a crisis. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton placed an ad in the London Times, and it read, "Wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honour and recognition in case of success. Ernest Shackleton." Now, when you read this, and we looked at this many years ago, we thought, wow, who would apply for that? But 3,800 people applied for that job in that time. But I can't help but think the world we're living in today and how this applies. Small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness. We're in for a hell of a ride. And today's presentation is about understanding what are the conditions that this crisis creates as far as navigation, leadership and team. And that's what I want to explore with you today. Navigating a crisis, how do we get insight from people like Shackleton, who have faced incredible crisis and challenges before, and what have we learned from them, and how do we do that? We're doing this as a part of the Connect, Evolve and Recover program from Commerce Ballarat in combination with Fed Union. I want to thank them for their support of the Ballarat community and business world. I don't know about you, but in February I touched down from New Zealand after doing a week of work there, and my wife picked me up at the airport, and the virus had sort of just started to get a bit of shape and form out of China. And I think I said to my wife as I exited customs, I think that might be the last time I fly for a while. Literally, I know that we'd be locked down, and so much uncertainty, a changing situation, a developing story, and an evolving and unpredictable nature. And if you look at this photo of Everest and the three climbers on it, we like to talk to our customers about the current situation as you set off on a journey to the summit, an avalanche has struck just in front of those climbers and their path has been cut off. The ropes have been destroyed. There's no clear path to the summit now. And that's what we think this crisis is for most businesses. Doesn't mean your summit's disappeared. It doesn't mean your vision's disappeared. It just means we've got to find a path around this avalanche. There's no ropes. There's no obvious path. You're going to have to work it out. And we're faced with adversity, uncertainty and change, just like Shackleton did when he tried his epic voyage. We've got to think about this situation and how we navigate around it. And today I'm going to use the base of this presentation is a wonderful story. Of course, Shackleton set out in 1915 to cross Antarctica, a bold expedition. And it was the era of expeditions, of course. He'd been and spent a lot of time with other leaders and expeditionary people like Robert Falcon Scott in his doomed mission to discover the South Pole. And he'd learnt a lot about teams, about morale, about finding yourself in dangerous and crisis situations. And he learned a lot about this because of adversity. Not long into his voyage, his ship was stuck in the ice, beset, and eventually crushed and destroyed. So how's this for a bad day? Your ship's destroyed, you've got 28 sailors, about 3 ton of gear, 39 dogs, no way of getting out, no mobile phones, a complete crisis. What we now know what he did was exemplary leadership, but also the structure of the team, what he did with the team, and the things that he learned along the way in helping them survive is incredible. He pulled a team together of diverse people. He lowered hierarchy. You can see in the photo here at the bottom, the ship's mates and captains and leaders working together to scrub floors. That had never been done before. But on the right-hand side, you can see here Shackleton with the stove and one of the sailors. He brought people that were pessimistic close to him. He played cards to understand them better. He upped his communication. He did all these wonderful things as a result of the crisis. And what we've learned from this incredible leader is some very valuable lessons. With the help of Syncretics Group out of the USA and their 30 years of research that resulted in 2 wonderful books, Leading at the Edge and Into the Storm being the story of the Midnight Rambler and the Hobart, Sydney to Hobart race. What happens to teams and leaders when they're faced with crisis? And what I'm going to share with you now the 10 lessons that they've learned that you can use today because they've never been so important, and also a navigation process to get you through. So the first lesson that we know from Shackleton is never lose sight of the ultimate goal and focus energy on short-term objectives. For a lot of you, your vision that you might have had before this crisis was in place, but now it's got fog around it or you can't even see it. So what you have to do is not let go of it, but park it for a moment and focus our energy on short-term objectives. I think in the game of AFL, they call this dropping your eyes and hitting a target. We've got to get down to the things we need to do every day. Lesson number 2, set a personal example with visible, memorable symbols and behaviours. Shackleton was brilliant at this. When the ship went down, he reassembled the men, he cut a new plan in hours, and then he boiled up some milk, gave everyone a cup of milk, shared around and said thank you. He then threw some gold coins in the snow and said, where we're going, we don't need these. It was all about travelling light and removing waste, and not removing physical waste, mental waste as well. He was setting them for a very big journey and a marathon. So what are your visible and memorable symbols? Leaders need to be visible during this crisis. There's no use hiding in an office. Number 3, install optimism, self-confidence, but stay grounded in reality. He wrote in his diaries, we've damn well got to be optimistic during these times. He knew that pessimism was the cancer of all teams. He wrote that in his diary. So he found cheeriness, he found things to celebrate. They played soccer, they took every opportunity to do something of celebration and to keep optimism high. He had to keep them believing that there was an opportunity for them to thrive. Number 4, take care of yourself, maintain your stamina and let go of guilt. I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, leaders, managers, owners and sales leaders going hell for leather having a crack. It's not sustainable. You've got to maintain your energy. That we call it the 22-mile march in expeditioning. If you go out during beautiful sunny conditions on Antarctica and go hell for leather for 100 kilometres, but the next day you're faced with a blizzard, eventually you'll tire and fatigue and people die. So you've got to manage every day a march. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So we need to make sure we maintain our stamina and let go of things that haven't worked so well. Let go of guilt. Reinforce the team message constantly. We are one, live or die together. I can't implore this enough. You need to continually communicate that you're in this together, that they need to work together. Team has never been so important as it is today. Number 6, minimise status difference and insist on courtesy and mutual respect. Thank you, positivity, pleasers, and all these sort of basic mutual respect comments are so valuable at the moment. Another thing is minimise the boss leader scenario. Break down your business into groups and teams, minimise hierarchy. I was with a customer the other day and, I was putting pasta on a shelf and it felt weird, but the team around me were, they hadn't seen me shelves before, so it was probably a bit rare. But it was a way to A, celebrate, but B, to show that we're all in this together, a visible thing. Master conflict, deal with anger in small doses, engage dissidents, and avoid needless power struggles. Shackleton found when people and team lose purpose, they start in conflict, morale drops, and all sorts of bad things happen. So it's really important that you stay optimistic, but you don't get drawn into needless power struggles. There's a lot of stress in the public at the moment, and you've got to be mindful of being drawn into these things. Shackleton had nearly a mutiny when they were crossing the Antarctic with the James Caird, with McNeish, the carpenter. He'd lost his purpose. He became depressed, angry, and vindictive. So he had to minimise him, but he didn't take him on in open warfare. He used the group and the values or the ship's articles to deal with his tension. Strategy 8, find something to celebrate and something to laugh about. I know this seems contradictory and hard because there's a lot of stress and pain out there, but I was on a Zoom call the other day with my accountant and his partner, who's the head of superannuation, and she was at home and a cat went past the back of her in video screen on the top of a piano with ornaments and a vase, a lampshade, and then knocked the whole lot off and fell off the piano. And we laughed, and you think, well, how can we be laughing? But you have to find things to celebrate. You have to find things to find a laugh in every day to break up the darkness. Strategy number 9, be willing to take the big risk. And this is not about taking unaccountable risks, but what I'm noticing at the moment is organisations that are rolling up the sleeves and having a fair dinkum crack at things. They're trying stuff that they've never done before. I've never done many Zoom webinars that I've ever done. So there's risk involved. You could get this wrong. You might get it, not quite right. I think it's important that you take these risks. A great example is this wonderful business called Wilson's in Ballarat, of course, a small independent supermarket that when the shutdown came, they were forced to shut down their wholesale business and reduce it. But out of that came their home delivery service, came an app, came new processes, people shifting and rolling across. It's a wonderful example of taking a risk, trying something new and pulling it off. Has there been problems? Yeah, absolutely, there's always going to be problems, but don't be afraid of taking a risk. Number 10, never give up. There's always another move. Worsley wrote, this is all about sticking to your guns and looking for the opportunities. One of the things that crisis does and challenge like this, it makes strategy come to the forefront very quickly because you're forced in life and death in this situation to actually make a move. You either stay on a mountaintop and freeze to death with no food, or you roll and you make a move. He knew that if you made moves, there was always something to do. There was always another move that you could make. So these are the wonderful lessons of Shackleton that we've learned from 30 years of research with the help of the Syncretics group out of the USA. But of course, Shackleton didn't have a map. And what we've developed is a process to help you map forward. Because an expedition doesn't have a map. It's a journey into the unknown. One of the things we think with leaders today and in this crisis, we've got to try and find some sort of process to give us due north, to give us a point and to give us a map. So I've got 2 processes I want to take you through now to do that. You should have got a handout sent to you by Michelle and the team. And this is called a business leader journey. This is a result of the work of a company called Mindshop, which I'm a part of, is a global advisory support network. And across the globe, we sat down and said, well, what does a sort of a roadmap look like? And how do we navigate this journey? So this is something you can stick up on the wall. All my leaders and the people I coach have got this stuck up on the wall, including myself. And I went through with a marker in the survive phase. I highlighted all the things that were written there that I've done. And it was quite refreshing because instinctively I've just done some things like get our cash flow right, all that sort of stuff. But then you've got to assess whether you're busy, you're having low impact, or you've got high impact on your business. And as you'll see, there's things right across from survive into the pivot and adapt area, and then eventually through to thrive whenever that happens. I think most people I can see at the moment are sitting on this survive to pivot line. So these are the things you need to be doing. You need to be looking at your disaster planning. You need to be doing in survive mode, you need to be doing very short 30-day, 1-page plans. If you're busy, for example, let's look at the busy line, you review operation capability, do some risk mitigation, review recruitment operations, review of market trends, be aware of what's going on around you and what your competitors are doing. And as you move in that busy line to the pivot, you might do a plan there. You might look at wildcat opportunities and things that are evolving. Last night, we're a 4 Pillars gin fan. We heard from him during the year at our big day out and last year, and we got some sanitizer that they're making. Well, that's a great pivot, a great product story. And then obviously then you move into the thrive. So where you run rapid problem solving, capitalize on your strengths, and you start to do a bit more innovation and different things. Now you'll notice at the bottom, if you're a customer of SalesShift, there is a whole toolbox of tools and plans and things you can use to get access to those sorts of insights and planning. My recommendations for this business leader journey map, print it out, put it up on the wall, let everyone see it, and plot it. Where are you on your expedition, on your journey through this navigation? Where are you and what impact have you got? That leads us into the second part of the planning process. And what we like to do is you're going to have to, as I said, park the high summit, the strategy or the vision, and you're going to have to work on getting around this avalanche. And the way we've been doing it this successfully with our customers is the first thing we do is look at the now to get clarity. We then look at the where to get direction. Where do you want to be in a future? Not too wide a window. We're talking 6 to 8 months here now. And then how are we going to do it? You'll notice time spent is predominantly 20% in the now, 20% in the where, and 60% in the how. Because at the moment, we're working in an environment where you can't pontificate too long, you can't procrastinate, you've just got to get on and have a crack at some stuff, take some risks and roll the dice. So to do the now analysis, you need to look at immediate decisions you've got to make. That might be staffing and resources. It might be recruitment if you're growing, if you're some of the bigger organisations. You know, what are the immediate decisions you've got to put down and make a decision on? And again, it's a bit of a risk. You might be wrong, you might be right, but you've just got to make these decisions. What are the, under diagnosis, we don't need to do a forensic analysis. You don't need huge tracks of data. You've just got to sit down and look at the key issues. What are the key issues confronting you today? It might be supply chain. It might be suppliers not paying or whatever the issues, what are the key issues? Then what are your key challenges that are easy to identify? Don't do stuff that's hard to identify. Be aware that there are COVID-19 issues in all businesses, but I would debate there are a lot of other issues that are issues beyond COVID-19. Cash flow, budgeting, forecasting, innovation, planning. They're all challenges that are not just COVID-19. Make sure you look at specific urgent concerns, things you've got to do quickly so you can put out the fires that are burning. And also notice in the now, we've got a bit of opportunity. Where is the potential? Start to explore potential. You don't want to sit in the doom and gloom. You want to look at some of the things that are opportune for us. Now, the best way to do this, not complicated, get a piece of butcher paper, stick it up on the wall and start doing a mind map. So you can see here a basic mind map. Where are we now? List the immediate decisions, the challenges, the opportunities, financial position. You should be working with your accountants or advisors there to do that. Then look at your key issues and specific concerns. Map it out, leave it on the wall for all to see. It's apparent that Shackleton didn't have a smart board or a whiteboard in the Endurance in the ship. What he would have done was work with very basic communication, basic tools. That's what you've got to do in crisis. Once you've done that, start to look at the where. So look at your current vision that we've sort of parked and go, okay, well, that's where we were heading, but now we've got this interruption, we've got this avalanche, we've got to work out where to put the ropes in, how to create a path around it. What's the impact of that disaster on your vision? What aren't you going to be able to do? What are you going to be able to do? I was working with a national real estate group in New Zealand yesterday doing online strategy, which is bizarre. But we were talking about the impact on them. What's the new world of real estate going to look like? And there's some pretty big scenarios that have come out of that work. So what we ask people to do is create not a big strategic plan, just 3 scenarios. And we like to think of it in a light, medium and heavy, or a short, medium and long term, but no more than 3. So for example, if we're looking low severity, minimal disruption, business as usual, medium severity impacts 10 to 20%, high severity, a disaster over 50% revenue loss. So what you do is you create these 3 scenarios, and if they were to happen, what would you action up and then get about doing it? To ensure everything is considered for each scenario, you could use what's called a PESTEL analysis. And of course, PESTEL stands for political, economical, social, technological, and environmental, and legal. So what are the things that commonly affect scenarios? And they're the key things: political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. Now, at the moment, when you think of those PESTEL definitions, we've probably got all those things going on in our WHERE analysis today. Once you've done that, 3 more bits of butcher paper up on the wall, and you write scenario 1, business as usual. What are the assumptions there? So what if it doesn't turn out that way? What if we don't get paid quick enough for some of the assumptions? And then you put up 3 or 4 actions. What are we going to do under that scenario? What are we going to do under scenario 2, 30% down? What do we do under scenario 3? The benefit of this type of strategic planning at the moment is if it happens, you're prepared. You don't know what's going to happen, but you've got to be prepared for all angles and somewhere in between. This sort of basic, very simple planning allows you to not act in crisis. It allows you to feel in control, and your people will see that you've thought through things before it happens, and it'll give you a sense of control. Just a note of caution as we sort of look to wrap up this session. One of the things I've seen a lot and starting to pick up on is mindfulness, resilience, and strength of our people. We know there's a journey about to take place. We'll move from sort of January, February of crisis when this hit lockdown. We're then getting into this sort of stabilised phase that we're in now. Not that we're comfortable with being locked up at home, but we're starting to cope and manage, and things are happening. And then eventually we'll cut through this pivot line, as we call it, and things will open up again. The government will relax restrictions. That's sort of starting to happen in New Zealand as well. And then we'll kickstart and we'll go again and we'll thrive. We'll survive, we'll pivot, and then we'll thrive again. What I think's being missed regularly by leaders, teams, politicians is what's going on in people's brains. If you look at the sort of top grade curve, we move from diversity as humans, loss of purpose, hopefulness, and energise again. The trouble is, if your business is open again and moving to kickstart and some of your people are still in loss of purpose, you're going to run into real trouble. Think about it. McNeish on the boat lost his purpose as a carpenter when the ship went down. Now, he started to rabble, he started to drop morale, he started to antagonise, and eventually created a one-man mutiny because he was so depressed, he was so anxious because he'd lost purpose. So you've got to make sure you deal and understand these people, stay close to your people, reach out to them, make sure they're okay as we navigate this journey. There'll be 2 speeds of this journey, people speed and the business speed. Lastly, I want to talk about something I think is really important under mindfulness, and that's where you are as a leader. You've got 3 areas you can focus on or function in. If you sit in the past, what you should have done, where you should have gone, where you should have parked your ship, what you should have done with finance, what you should have put away of cash, all the what ifs, what if I'd have done that, it's all the past. And as Steve Jobs basically said, you cannot recreate the dots of the past, you can only recreate the dots of the future. That's the only thing you have control of. So if you spend a lot of time in the past, you're going to become pretty grey and trying to reconcile the unreconcilable, so it just won't work. Now, the challenge is in the future, we don't know where this is going. It's a novel pandemic. We've never seen this before. We're trying to work out where we're going. I think if you go too far over the horizon to try and work out your next steps, you're going to become pretty anxious. So clearly where that leaves you is in the middle, in that mindful, be in the present, drop our eyes and work on what's in front of us every day. And as Shackleton put one step in front of another as you go day to day. So I just want you to think about this. Be also mindful that your minds are full. I'll say that again. Be mindful that your minds are full. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of these types of webinars and things going on. You've got to compress the information, draw on valuable insight and news that you can rely on. If you collect too much, you're going to be full. I'm meeting a lot of leaders that minds and brains are just full at the moment because they're not in the present. So be really mindful of where you are as a leader, because your people will respond to your mindfulness. And lastly, to wrap us up, just over a year ago, we started a growth club in Ballarat, a wonderful tribe of individual business owners, leaders, where we worked on developing a real world. Now, obviously, we got sort of stopped in our tracks there, but being the opportunist I am, and I guess, optimistic person I am, we're taking this opportunity to reset Growth Club. And with the support of Commerce Ballarat, we're going to pull it apart and reset it for the current members and for anyone else that wants to join us. So really watch out for this. As we come out of this phase of pivot and adapt and getting ready to thrive, we're going to relaunch Growth Club in Ballarat with a couple of key advisors there. and really come up with something powerful to help people and businesses grow into this next phase. As a first part of that, we're going to be running a free webinar series. We'll announce this and launch this in the next 2 weeks. You'll be hearing about this. It'll be 3 free webinars over 3 weeks. The first one being getting ready, so going deeper on some of the planning models I've put up today. The second one will be creating a new vision as you come out of Thrive, out of Pivot into Thrive. And the last one will be leading change. So we're going to do a lot of work in one of these webinars on how you lead that change process successfully. We'll also have a coach on call hotline, and hopefully once we get back to sort of more social connection, we'll be able to start the Growth Club group again and get you together. Now, the only consideration we've got on here is the spacing in this will be determined on how quickly we're allowed to come out of lockdown, or we're seeing that that's happening. So stay tuned and stay an ear out for the free webinars that are going to come from us. As a follow-up to today, the session handouts, takeaways, and the will do. So one of the things I want you to really think about, what is your takeaway from today? Is there something in the 10 lessons? Is there something in the 2 planning models, the business leader map or the scenario planning? Or is there something else that you're going to do? And please put down a couple of will do's. What are you going to do? This will be sort of taped and recorded, so you'll be able to see that. Also, the scenario planning video that Commerce Ballarat have got on their website is a really valuable tool. It's a 10-minute video. A number of the Growth Club members have done this, so make sure you get on and do that. It's on our YouTube site. Lastly, the post-session info, there's PDF for these slides to come out for those that registered, and a recording of today so you can share it. And if you want a one-on-one consultation, yeah, I'm locked down as well, so I've got time. If you want, give me a bell, connect with me, and we'll have a chat about how we might be able to help you or things we might be able to do. Lastly, a couple of thank yous. I want to thank Jody and the team, Michelle and Zoe at Commerce Ballarat. They're doing a wonderful job, and the organisations that we're involved in Ballarat. We moved to Ballarat 4 years ago. We love this place. I'm not a local yet, but I'm working on it. I've been told I need another about 10 or 15 years to be a local, so I'm working on that also. But I believe Ballarat's an amazing place. We've got an amazing opportunity in a regional, large city environment to really do something special out of this virus. I see it as a big opportunity to reset businesses and to thrive out of this. So if you need help to do that, we've been working with teams and leaders, and especially in sales, for the last 28 years, and we've got a little bit to share. So I wish everyone the best of luck, and I hope this morning has been valuable for you and helps you set the right navigational path to your due north to thrive. So thank you everyone for joining us. We'll do Q&A. If there are any Q&A, you can just go into the Q&A workshop there, or the tab on the side of the Zoom there. We've got a couple of questions. G'day, Greg. Long time no speak, mate. Yeah, definitely we're going to have 5 minutes of time. Just take down my email, Greg, and we'll talk straight after it, if that's okay. Any other questions you've got about Shackleton, about the navigation process, or anything else? Happy to entertain now for a couple of minutes before we wrap up. Oops. No other questions? Everyone's very quiet, or got everything they need from today? I hope so. So again, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone from Commerce Ballarat for their amazing work in supporting our community and our business community. And I look forward to working with you and others as we go forward and come out of this. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you very much for attending today.